Blackburn Rovers, once champions of England, now a forgotten club, a sleeping giant waiting for the right hand to wake it. When I took the job, the goal was simple: survival, consolidation, and a 5-year plan to return to the top flight. But 13 games in, and things haven't gone to plan. Things have gone even better. After 13 games, we're sitting top of the league, winning 9, drawing none, losing 4. We're on 27 points. And it's the catalyst for reigniting my idea to start a football manager channel of my own, Gafferman-FM. I started out this save with the club vision of basically being top half. Anything higher than that, knocking on the playoffs door would be considered really well done. But consolidation, stay in the league, build your squad up, and then go next season, possibly making playoffs. So far, the board are delighted with where we're at, sitting top of the league. I know there's only a point in it, and it's only November. We could be well and truly FM'd at any point. But if we take a look at not the tactics just yet, we'll look at the schedule. So this will link back into the tactics in a second. We started off with the pre-season friendlies, and I was trying out a tactic which was the fluid counter-attack. Idea was that in the league might give us the best option in terms of trying to be defensively solid and then turn around on the counter-attack, make a goal or two. And that would play into that sort of club vision of consolidating. But when we started in the league, you can see that a couple of results didn't go our way. We had a bit of a lucky result against Birmingham, really, and then again against Hull wasn't going our way. So I think from the Norwich game on the 30th of August all the way down to the game we've just played against Leicester at 1st of November, we were using the more traditional wing play type tactic, and I played about with this one in FM24. Never really got it to work, even in the lower league saves. But at the moment, it seems to be working well. So we've got 2 fairly decent wingers. Little bit of pace on them, looking for a good first touch. Decent crossing, obviously. And some sort of dribbling skills would be useful. But we've got a bit of a combination. So we've maybe got 2 players that are slightly more technical, who at the moment are the starters, and they've been playing really well. Katie Gordon's been brilliant so far. And then we've got the lads on the bench who are more of the sort of speedy type players. So Kagbo sort of comes on late in games, usually as a sub. So we're relying on a bit of his pace then when the opposition's tiring a little bit. And then we've got Mika Hamilton on loan from Middlesbrough. Not quite as speedy, but still decent pace. But then maybe his sort of technicals aren't quite as good in terms of his crossing. Then up top, we've got a bit of an old-fashioned story there. We've got your typical big man, 6'5", good strength, good jumping reach, heading, using him as a target forward, alongside our smaller man, who probably works best as a deep lying forward, or I have used him as a false 9, and then out of possession, we sort of have been dropping him either into the attacking mid, sort of a tracking role, or leaving him up top as a tracking forward. A couple of other options from the bench. The ratings look quite decent, but so far they haven't really made the impact I wanted. I mean, 6.8 8 rating there is quite good, really. But his goal returns haven't quite been as good. So he's off the bench. Standout man apart from Katie Gordon, Todd Cantwell, starting really as that attacking midfielder or advanced playmaker in the previous tactic of fluid counter-attack, thinking that he would bring the ball up the pitch, be able to keep hold of it, put the attackers through on goal. It didn't quite work. And then since we've switched to this winger type system, I think he's best being in the middle of the park, being able to get a hold of the ball with his decent first touch, a decent vision, and then being able to ping those balls over to the wingers or directly into the strikers. So we've retrained him as a deep line playmaker, and he's been playing really well in that position, been playing better there than he was at the start in those first few games as an attacking midfielder. We've got a fairly decent goalkeeper. He was already at the club when we started, recently had a new contract. I left that to the director of football to negotiate, and he's managed to get himself on 14 grand a week, which is more than I probably would have allowed, but there we go. You need a goalkeeper. Centre backs, Wharton has been a mainstay and is the vice captain at the moment. Lacking a slight touch of pace there, but he has been pulling in decent ratings. And in the past handful of games since he's come back from an injury, we've got Hayden Carter playing alongside him, who has also been playing well in those games. We did sign Reece Williams from Liverpool for about 400k, I think. His attributes look fairly decent for the level. His ratings weren't great. He had a couple of okay games and then a couple of stinkers, let's say. So he's back on the bench. And that's pretty much the roundup of the sort of squad where we're at the moment. The rest are sort of bench warmers, squad players. They're in and out a little bit, not quite as good at playing the roles as the starting 11. So maybe that's something when we get towards January we look to change. Within that tactic, I have altered it slightly over the course of those opening games, but it's relatively basic in terms of the standard wing play tactic. Not too much out of possession. We're sort of play about with either a standard or a low defensive line, and sometimes we drop off more. Other times it's just a sort of standard. Always playing sort of a mid block, not doing too much in terms of closing at the top half of the pitch, top third of the pitch, but trigger pressing from once the opposition sort of gets over the halfway line, we're sort of trigger pressing. It seems to be working quite well so far. There have been a few good results. So, I mean, defensively, we've not done too bad. Beating Ipswich 1-0, beating Swansea 2-0, only conceding a goal in a couple of the other games. And then we had a big result against Stoke. 2 losses in a row. Start thinking in this new game, is that the tactic not quite working as it was, as the sort of the game sort of figured out how you want to play and adjusted, and you might have to readjust things. So we did have a little play about with things for the next game, and it was a bit of a slow game up until we managed to get the goal, and then we just sort of held them off really. And then the game against Leicester, we were pretty dominant. We've been getting to about 80-minute mark. And then in these tight games, I've been just whacking the defensive duties higher and slowing the tempo down and just sort of waiting, see if we can catch them on counter-attacks. If not, then we're already set in our defensive positions to soak up any pressure. If we try and have a quick look, I'm still working my way around these tiles and cards and bits and pieces. So the season preview would have put us, where would it put us? I can't see us. There, 15th. So mid-table, slightly lower than mid-table, I would say. Where I would want to be, let's say. So I think the start's been good. We're hopeful that we can carry on. I want in this to be more about the sort of storytelling and the following along the journey of the saves and the games. We've done quite a few saves on FM24 where it was, I think I tried the British Steel save idea and sort of journeyman saves, and I really enjoyed sort of getting stuck into those. So hopefully within this new Gafferman FM channel we can create some more of those stories and those follow along journeys. I think, can we say at 13 games into the start of the season, we're now in November, can we say the honeymoon period is over and the expectations might be beginning to turn slightly? If we are still in this position or in and around promotion spots come January, things might change and there might be an expectation that we can get promotion. So that January window might be quite important. There might be a couple of players that we even need to risk and get rid of, just so that we can make a little bit of room for some more quality rather than those squad players that I talked about earlier. So hopefully we can bring you a bit more of this story and we might be able to wake up the sleeping giant and return back to the Premier League. Quite a successful start to a save that I've had compared to when I was playing in the beta. There's a couple of different saves that I started and was playing around with, just trying to get familiar with the game, and just couldn't quite get into those stories really. Whereas with this one, it's kind of gripped me already, and I've got that sort of just one more game feeling about this FM26 game. So hopefully that continues to grow, and hopefully you come along for that journey and you will follow us on this story. Don't forget to subscribe and come back for the next episode. See you later.